Crazy dog, I hear you say. How can you possibly be comparing the 2021 X-Wing to the 2023 E-Wing? They're completely different ships. Steven, I say, assuming that your name is Steven. It makes perfect sense to compare the E-Wing and the X-Wing. In universe, the E-Wing was actually designed with replacing the X-Wing in mind. So I figure it only makes sense to compare them. There are already lots of videos comparing them in universe, but it's time to compare them in Lego form. But crazy dog, I hear you saying again, how can you possibly compare them when the E-Wing is a dual set, and Shin Hati Starfighter makes up a considerable portion of the piece count? Never fear, Steven, I say, wondering if your name is actually Steven and if this joke is weirding you out yet. I have a way. You see, if you take a look at the instruction manuals for the set, you'll see that the E-Wing comes with 6 of the 10 bags, and the Fiend class fighter comes with 4 of the 10 bags. Thus, we can multiply the piece count and the retail price of the set as a whole by 60% and get an approximate value for what the E-Wing comes with. Interestingly enough, LEGO also puts exactly 60% of the minifigures in the E-Wing portion of the bags. Crazy dog, I hear you say again. Get on with it! I was just getting to that, I respond to you, stupid Steven. Starting with the technical specs on these sets, the 75301 Luke's X-Wing came with 474 pieces and retailed on Lego.com for $50. Although about halfway through its life cycle, Walmart had it on sale for $40, so I don't know who would still be buying it from Lego.com. And using our pre-established rules, the E-Wing comes with 633.6 pieces and retails for $65.994 US. Crazy dog, I hear you say. Aren't you gonna round those up so that's easier to work with? No, Steven, I say. That's what makes me crazy. But if we move on to minifigures, here's where... Okay, I know that minifigures are probably the most boring category, so if you just want to skip over this, I'm putting a timestamp up on the screen now so that you can go ahead and do that, but you could watch them anyways. Things start to get interesting in my opinion. The X-Wing comes with 4 minifigures and the E-Wing comes with 3 minifigures, but I personally think that the minifigure selection of the E-Wing trumps the minifigure selection of the X-Wing despite their numbers difference. The first minifigure included in the E-Wing is of course its pilot, Captain Porter, and I have mixed feelings about this figure. I think that the torso and leg print is rather lackluster. It looks a little bit thick and bulky, but I really like the helmet print a lot. The helmet is where it's at in my opinion. It's just got a really nice print, but you can remove it and see his second face where he has no visor on. And with that lack of visor, you can put this brand new hairpiece on him that LEGO has included. I don't know if it's brand new all across LEGO, but this is the first time I've seen it in Star Wars. It's an interesting piece to say the least. But next up we have the new astromech droid. Now a fun Star Wars lore fact is that they actually had to design a brand new type of astromech for the E-Wing in universe, and it looks like LEGO designed a brand new mold piece for this astromech in Lego form, and you can see the extra gaps there, but nothing much to say about it. It's got an interesting color scheme, not my personal favorite, but it's alright. And then one of the more exciting characters from the Ahsoka wave is Morgan Elsbeth. Kind of a bland figure, but a decent character in the show, so I'm glad that we got her. You can see her second face there, and that's pretty much all there is to say about her. But if we take a look at the X-Wing characters, there's not that much more excitement about them. We've seen Luke Skywalker a lot before. It's got a much nicer print than the E-Wing pilot, I will say that. The helmet isn't as nice in my opinion, but you've all seen this character before. You probably own him. And even if you're not an avid LEGO collector, you probably own at least 5 R2-D2s, so I won't really go over him very much. There's nothing exciting there. One that I think was more exciting for a lot of people is the Princess Leia minifigure. Previously, this version of Leia had only come in the 2019 Tanta V4 set, which retailed for $200. So it's nice that she's more affordable for a lot of people. She's got a really nice print. There's her second face, but I do appreciate this figure. Probably the most exciting figure of the set was the General Dodonna. This is the first time we'd ever seen him in Lego form, and he's not exclusive anymore. They've got that Yavin 4 base that he comes in now, but he's still a good figure. I really like the hairpiece that he comes with. It's kind of a cool little thing. All in all, I think that the E-Wing comes with the better figure selection, even though it comes with less and is also a lot more money. I just think that the novelty of the characters on the E-Wing beat out the quantity of the characters on the X-Wing. Now, going on to the next section, we have play features. They are pretty similar ships in universe, and so they have a lot of the same play features. However, they are different enough from each other that they do bring some pretty different and meaningful things to the table when it comes to this section. But they do indeed have a lot of the same play features. If we take a look at the X-Wing here, you can pretty easily lift up the cockpit, put in your pilot, in this case Luke, and then sit your astromech droid right there in the back. And then here with the E-Wing, we got much of the same story. You can lift up your cockpit, only in this case, you can actually remove the seat to place accessories in under the pilot, which is kind of a nice touch. The gun fits in there nice and neat. And then you can put the seat back on, and of course grab your pilot here, and once you put his legs in the right position, bam, he fits nice and swell. I will say though that I like the astromech compartment a lot better on this set. It's just got a nice tiled off black interior, and the astromech droid does not sit so high up. On the X-Wing he kind of pops up a little bit too much. And speaking of the X-Wing, one problem that I will say it has is sticker peeling. I really do not like the sticker placement on this. If you want to get them to not peel, you do have to stagger them so that they're not centered. Here's another one, a little bit newer, that I staggered a little bit, but it's still peeling. One place the X-Wing does have a pretty big one-up on the E-Wing though is the main play feature, which is the locking S-foils, and I love this method. I have the 2012 X-Wing as well, but this is just so much smoother than any X-Wing before it. You just push the button on and it looks great, and then of course it claps nice and easy. The E-Wing of course does not have any S-foils in universe, so doesn't need to have that play feature on. It's just locked in there with some pretty strong Technic, so that's nice. You can swoosh it from the wings, but a little bit more boring. But heading to a category where the E-Wing does beat out the X-Wing is the landing gear. The landing gear on this X-Wing is terrible. I mean, don't get me wrong, it supports it just fine. It looks nice when it's landed, but it does not collapse, which is just so sad. The E-Wing's landing gear collapses so nicely and so easily, and it just looks so much better when it's in flight mode. Unfortunately though, when it is in flight mode, you cannot simply set it down if you need to go and grab something else, because the blaster cannons will start to bend and they do not support the weight of this set very well, so definitely do not just set it down without putting down the landing gear. The X-Wing is not like this. There is a way to pretty easily remove the landing gear. It's just annoying that you have to remove it in the first place. So you can see you just take the top leg off and then replace the two bottom ones with these white tiles. It looks pretty alright. I definitely recommend doing this if you do have an X-Wing, but I digress. If you do put the X-Wing down while it is in its modded flight mode, the guns do not touch the ground at all, and so you don't have any fear of bending them up or messing them up. And of course, if you don't do the mod, then you can set the X-Wing down anytime. But moving on, what could any modern LEGO Star Wars set be without their shooting mechanisms? And no worries, Steven, this time we'll start with the X-Wing. It comes with spring-loaded shooters. They're pretty simple. Everybody knows how to use them. My one disappointment with this is that it is not on the top. I mean, it looks much more aesthetically pleasing, but it's just kind of annoying to have to shoot it off from the bottom. The E-Wings are a little bit harder to load. I think that these new stud shooters are a lot harder than the old ones. They're just kind of at funky angles sometimes, especially on these sets, and it makes it a little bit difficult. What is really nice about this though is that when you are swooshing it, you can swoosh it and shoot it at the same time with one hand. You don't have to grab it with the other hand to shoot them off. It's really nice to be able to do that. I cannot say the same for the X-Wing, where when you are swooshing it around with one hand, as I imagine most of you do, it is a lot harder to shoot off the spring-loaded shooters. You often end up closing the wings, and I don't like that about the X-Wing. I think that the E-Wing really shines there. And taking a look at both of their play features, I think that this is kind of a hard call to make on which one has the better play features. The E-Wing has a lot of value to offer in that category, but so does the X-Wing. Honestly, I think I gotta give it to the X-Wing just because the folding wings is so much more exciting than anything on the E-Wing. And this brings us to our next section, that is value. This is a pretty cut and dry section. The E-Wing is $66, the X-Wing is $50. The X-Wing has a much larger footprint with more minifigures, so yeah, the X-Wing wins this one pretty easy. And so the X-Wing beats out the E-Wing in every metric imaginable. It's got better value, better play, and more figures. But I still think that the E-Wing set is better just because of its novelty. We've only ever gotten one E-Wing before. That was the Jag 14 thing, and that doesn't really count. But despite the E-Wing being better in my personal opinion, I still gotta give the win to the X-Wing just because objectively it is better, and it's really hard to recommend the E-Wing over an X-Wing, especially if you're new to Star Wars, because, you know, it's the X-Wing, and if you don't have any LEGO Star Wars sets, kinda need to have an X-Wing. But let me hear your thoughts down in the comments. Is the X-Wing better than the E-Wing? What do you think? And also, thank you for watching. If you made it this far, might I ask you to subscribe, because if you did make it this far, that probably means that you enjoyed this content, and you should subscribe for more. And maybe even check out some of these videos on the end screen now. Thank you.